My name is Sarah Chen. I'm 28 years old, and the day I found out my mother destroyed my life, I was wearing a brand new suit I couldn't afford. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I walked into Morse and Associates headquarters in downtown Seattle. Not just any Tuesday, it was supposed to be my first day as a senior financial analyst, the job I'd spent 6 years working toward. 6 years of night classes while working two jobs. 6 years of living in a studio apartment with furniture from Goodwill. 6 years of telling myself that all the sacrifice would be worth it when I finally made it. I made it. All right. I made it all the way to the HR office before my entire future collapsed. Ms. Chen, please have a seat. Linda Martinez, the HR director, had that expression people get when they're about to destroy your world but want to seem professional about it. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, and behind her, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, all those buildings full of people living normal lives. Unaware that in this small conference room, mine was ending. I sat down, smoothing my skirt. The suit was from Nordstrom Rack, but it was new and it made me feel legitimate, like I belonged in places like this. Like I'd earned my spot at the table. There's been an issue with your background check, Linda said, sliding a folder across the table. My stomach dropped. Background check? I had nothing to hide. I'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. What kind of issue? According to our credit verification partner, you have 17 open credit card accounts with a combined balance of $347,000. About it. I know. Th. Larry Rear. ETH. I purse. An O. How and street. Odal I. And 347,000. Additionally, there are 3 personal loans totaling 125,000, all currently in collections. Your credit score is 487. The words didn't make sense. They were in English, but they might as well have been in another language. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to say there'd been a mistake, a mix-up with someone who had the same name. That's impossible. I finally managed. I have one credit card with a $2,000 limit that I pay off every month. I don't have any loans except my student loans, which are current. Linda's expression shifted slightly less empathetic, more suspicious. Ms. Chen, identity theft is a serious crime. If someone has stolen your information, you need to file a police report immediately. However, until this is resolved, we cannot proceed with your employment. Morrison Associates requires all employees in financial positions to maintain a credit score above 680th. It's a matter of fiduciary responsibility. The room tilted, or maybe I tilted. Everything felt wrong, like reality had split open and I'd fallen through into some nightmare dimension. I don't understand. This must be a mistake. Can I see the report? She hesitated, then turned her computer monitor toward me. There it was. My name, Sarah Michelle Chen, my social security number, my date of birth. But the accounts? I'd never seen any of them. Capital One, Chase. Bank of America, Discover, American Express, store cards from Nordstrom. Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus, cash advancers. Maxed out. All of them maxed out. The dates started for years ago, right after I'd graduated from community college and was working at that accounting firm as a junior bookkeeper. Right around the time I'd moved out of my mother's house and into that studio in Capitol Hill. I need to make some calls, I said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. There's been a mistake. I'll fix this. I'm sorry, Sarah. Linda's voice was gentle but firm. We'll keep your application on file for 6 months. So if you can resolve this and provide documentation, we'd be happy to reconsider. But for now, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. I walked out of that building in a daze. The spring sun was too bright, the street noise too loud. I'd taken the bus that morning because I was saving up for a car payment, the car I was planning to buy once I had this job, this salary, this stable future that was supposed to finally be mine. I called the credit bureau from a bench outside, then I called another one, then the third. Each conversation was the same horror show, just with different details. The woman at Experian was sympathetic but unhelpful. These accounts were all opened with your valid social security number and past identity verification. Do you know who might have access to your personal documents? My apartment had been broken into about 3 years ago. Nothing valuable was taken, just my laptop and some cash. I'd filed a police report, but nothing came of it. But that couldn't explain accounts opened for years ago. Did any family members have access to your information? The Experian representative. Family. The word hit me like cold water. I pulled up my email and searched for my mother's name. There, a message from 18 months ago. Sarah, honey, I need a copy of your birth certificate and social security card for the family safety deposit box. Can you send photos? I'd sent them without thinking twice. Why would I? She was my mother. My hands started shaking as I scrolled further back. Another email from 3 years ago. The insurance company needs your information to add you back to the family policy. Can you confirm your SSN? I'd given it to her over the phone. No. No, 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 no. I called my mother, straight to voicemail. I called again, same thing. On the 4th try, she picked up. Sarah, honey, I'm actually in the middle of something. None. I need you to be completely honest with me right now. My voice cracked. Did you open credit cards in my name? Silence. Not the confused kind, the guilty kind. Sarah, let's talk about this later. DIDYOUOPNCREFIRED. RTCIRDSINMMYNAME. Don't you dare take that tone with me. Her voice shifted, that familiar edge of righteousness that always made me feel small. After everything I've done for you, I raised you by myself. Your father left us with nothing. I sacrificed everything. That's not an answer. I needed help, sir. The ceiling wasn't doing well, and the mortgage was late, and I didn't know what else to do. I was going to pay it all back before you ever noticed. I was building your credit history. Do you know how hard it is to establish credit from nothing? I was helping you. The phone slipped from my hand, clattered on the concrete. People walking by glanced at me, young woman in a new suit sitting on a bench, falling apart. I picked up the phone. How much? My voice was barely a whisper. It's not as bad as it seems. How much more? I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's manageable. We can work it out as a family. I just lost my job because of you. My credit score is 487th. I have almost $500,000 in debt that I didn't spend. That I didn't even KNOW about. I was crying now, hot angry tears that I couldn't stop. I've been eating ramen and riding the bus and working overtime for YERS to build a life. And you just stole it. Don't be so dramatic. It's just numbers on paper. These credit card companies have insurance for this kind of thing. That's when something broke inside me. Not a loud break, but a quiet one, like a thread that's been pulled too tight for too long, finally snapping. I have to go, I said. Sarah, don't be like this. Come over for dinner Sunday. We'll figure it out together. Bring that chicken dish I like. I hung up. For a long time, I just sat there on that bench, watching the city move around me. Watching people in business clothes heading to jobs they still had. Watching mothers with strollers, hoping they weren't secretly destroying their children's futures. Watching the world continue like nothing had happened, like my entire life hadn't just imploded. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. You're overreacting. Call me when you've calmed down. Then another I'm your MODHER, show some respect. Then another, your brother never treats me like this. My brother, golden child Derek, who still lived at home at 32, whose medical school debt mom had somehow helped pay off, who could do no wrong. I wondered if she'd stolen his identity too, or if I was special in that way. I opened my banking app. My checking account 3,247. My savings 8,932, $12,000. That was my entire net worth. $12,000 and negative $500,000 in stolen debt. The sun was setting by the time I stood up from that bench. My new suit was wrinkled. My face was probably a mess. But something had crystallized in those hours of sitting, of processing, of understanding the magnitude of what had been done to me. I wasn't going to beg her to fix it. I wasn't going to have Sunday dinners where we worked it out as a family. I wasn't going to pretend this was okay or manageable, or anything other than what it was: theft, betrayal, the ultimate violation from the one person who was supposed to protect me. I pulled up my phone and started making a list. First, I needed a lawyer. Then, I needed to file fraud reports with every single creditor. Then I needed to file a police report against my own mother. That night, in my studio apartment with its secondhand furniture and its view of a brick wall, I started the process of burning my old life to the ground so I could build a new one from the ashes. I just didn't know yet how satisfying that fire was going to be. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and expensive coffee. Patricia Wong was 50-something, sharp-eyed, with gray streaks in her hair that somehow made her look more authoritative rather than older. Her paralegal had squeezed me in on an emergency consultation after I'd spent 3 hours on the phone explaining my situation to various law offices, most of whom told me family law wasn't their specialty, or that cases like mine were complicated. Patricia didn't say it was complicated. She said it was prosecutable. Here's what you need to understand, Sarah. She leaned back in her other chair. Fingers steep, lad. What your mother did isn't just unethical. It's criminal fraud, identity theft, and depending on how she obtained some of these accounts, potentially forgery. The fact that she's your mother doesn't change the law, it actually makes it worse in some ways. How so? I'd barely slept in 3 days. My eyes felt like sandpaper. Because she had legitimate access to your personal information as your parent. She exploited a position of trust. Judges don't like that. Patricia pulled up something on her computer. I've reviewed the preliminary documents you sent. The pattern is clear and extensive. This wasn't one impulsive mistake. This was systematic theft over a period of at least 4 years. 4 years. 4 years of my mother opening accounts, maxing them out, making minimum payments when she felt like it, letting them go to collections when she didn't. 4 years while I was working myself to exhaustion, proud of my perfect credits, the score I checked obsessively, because I'd grown up watching her dodge bill collectors and lose houses to foreclosure. I'd sworn I'd never be like that. Turns out I didn't have to be. She'd made sure I was exactly like that, at least on paper. What are my options? I asked. Patricia's expression was carefully neutral. Option 1. You file police reports and fraud affidavits with every creditor. You cooperate fully with any criminal investigation. This likely means your mother gets charged with multiple felonies. Given the amount, over $470,000 in total debt, she's looking at serious prison time. 3 to 5 years minimum. Possibly more. My stomach twisted. Prison. My mother in prison because of me. Patricia continued, reading my face. Option 2. Try to resolve this privately. Get her to take responsibility for the debts, work out payment plans, hope the creditors don't pursue criminal charges on their own. But I'll be honest, Sarah, this option rarely works. People who steal $500,000 from their own children don't usually have the means or the willingness to pay it back, and in the meantime, this debt stays attached to you. It destroys your credit for 7 to 10 years. It affects your ability to get jobs, rent apartments, buy cars. It follows you everywhere. What would you do? I asked quietly. If it was your mother? Patricia was quiet for a moment. My mother embezzled $80,000 from my father's business when I was 25. I testified against her at trial. She served 18 months. We haven't spoken in 23 years. She met my eyes. And I sleep fine at night because I know I did the right thing. Not the easy thing, the right thing. I left her office 3 hours later with a file folder full of documents, a payment plan for her retainer, $5,000, half of my savings gone, and a decision that sat in my chest like a stone. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I blocked my mother's number. Then my brother's. Then my Aunt Linda's and my cousin Michelle's, and everyone else in my family who might try to guilt me, manipulate me, tell me I was overreacting or being cruel or destroying the family. I didn't send a dramatic goodbye message. I didn't explain myself. I just disappeared. The term Patricia had used was no contact. It was apparently common advice in support groups for people with toxic families. Cut them off completely. No explanations. No second chances, no closure conversations. That just turned into more manipulation. Ghost protocol. That's what it felt like. Like I was killing off my old identity and haunting the edges of a life I used to have. The next morning, I started filing reports. First, the police report. The officer at the precinct was young, maybe younger than me, and he looked uncomfortable as I explained the situation. So your mom stole your identity? Yes. And you want to press charges? Yes. He shifted in his seat. Look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but family stuff like this, usually people work it out privately. The courts, they're not really designed for $500,000, I interrupted. She stole almost $500,000 using my identity. If a stranger did this, would you be telling them to work it out privately? He had the grace to look embarrassed. No, ma'am. Then, please take my statement. The report took 2 hours. Every account, every date I could verify, every email and text message I'd saved. The officer printed everything out, had me sign it, gave me a case number. Someone from the fraud division will contact you within 2 weeks, he said. He still looked uncomfortable. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you're going through this. I nodded and left. Next, the credit bureaus. I filed fraud alerts with all 3: Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Then I started the agonizing process of contacting every single creditor. Each conversation was its own special hell. Hello, my name is Sarah Chen, and I need to report fraudulent accounts opened in my name. Do you have a police report number? Yes, it's... And do you know who opened these accounts? My mother. Pause every single time. That awkward pause. I see. And you're willing to pursue criminal charges? Yes. Some were sympathetic. Some were skeptical. One guy at Capital One actually laughed. Man said, well, that's cold. Your own mom? I hung up on him and called back, got someone else. It took 5 days to contact every creditor. 5 days of telling the same story over and over. Of hearing my mother's financial devastation laid out in numbers and dates and interest rates. 5 days of learning exactly how she'd spent my future. $45,000 at Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus clothes. Jewelry, handbags, $67,000 in cash advances, no way to track where it went. $34,000 at various home improvement stores. She'd renovated her entire house. $28,000 at restaurants and spas because apparently identity theft is hungry work. $53,000 in balance transfers and interest, just moving debt around. And on and on and on. My mother had spent my life on handbags and patio furniture. The calls started 3 days after I blocked everyone. They went to voicemail. I didn't listen to them at first. But eventually, morbid curiosity won out. My brother Derek angry. Sarah, what the hell is going on? Mom is freaking out because you blocked her. This is ridiculous. You're almost 30 years old. Stop being so dramatic. Call her back. My Aunt Linda. Confused, honey, your mother is very upset. She says you're accusing her of something terrible. I don't know what happened between you two, but she's family. Whatever it is, I'm sure you can talk it out. My mother, crying, Sarah, please. I don't understand why you're doing this. I made a mistake, but you're treating me like a criminal. I'm your mother. I love you. Please call me back. Then my mother again, angry. You filed a POLICAREPORT against your own mother? Do you have any idea what you've done? The shame you've brought on this family? Your brother is right about you. You've always been selfish and ungrateful. Then Derek again, nice. Sarah, real nice. Mom's blood pressure is through the roof because of your little tantrum. It's on you. I deleted them all and turned off voicemail. 2 weeks later, Patricia called. The creditors are filing their own reports. 3 of them are pursuing charges independently of your complaint. This is going to move forward whether you continue cooperating or not. Good. I said and I meant it. The thing about going no contact is that it creates space where all the noise and guilt and manipulation used to be. At first, that space felt terrifying, like standing at the edge of a cliff, nothing but void below. But slowly, the void started to fill with other things, like clarity. I started going to a support group for adult children of narcissists. It met Tuesday nights in a church basement in Fremont. The first night I went, I sat in the back and didn't say anything, just listened to other people's stories. A woman my age whose father had stolen her identity to fund his gambling addiction. A man in his 40s whose mother had drained his college funding, then blamed him for not being grateful for her management. A younger girl, maybe 22, whose parents had taken out student loans in her name for schools she'd never attended. We were a basement full of people whose families had treated them like a team is, like resources to be exploited rather than humans to be loved. The second week, I shared my story. Everyone nodded like they'd heard it 1,000 times before, because they had, just with different details. Different dollar amounts, different variations on the same fundamental betrayal. The hardest part, said a woman named Jennifer who'd been coming for 3 years, is accepting that they're not going to apologize. Not really. They're not going to have some epiphany and realize what they've done and beg for forgiveness. People like this, they genuinely believe they're the victim. They'll tell the story of your betrayal for the rest of their lives and never once acknowledge their own. She was right. In the voicemails I'd stopped listening to, my mother never once said, "I'm sorry for stealing from you." It was always, "I'm sorry you're so upset," or "I'm sorry you can't forgive me," or "I'm sorry you're letting lawyers destroy our family." Never, "I'm sorry I stole $500,000 and destroyed your life. I moved apartments in week 4. Didn't tell anyone where I was going, not friends, not former coworkers. Nobody who might accidentally mention it to someone who might tell my family. I found a studio in Ballard, smaller than my old place but cheaper. I needed to conserve money. The legal fees were piling up, and I was working temp jobs while trying to find another position in my field. Difficult when your credit is destroyed and you can't pass background checks. The new apartment had a view of the ship canal. I could watch boats pass by while I ate my ramen and researched bankruptcy law and tried to figure out how to rebuild a life from negative numbers. I changed my phone number, set up a P.O. box for mail, created new email addresses. I was erasing myself bit by bit from the world where my mother could reach me. It felt like dying, but also, weirdly, like being born. 3 months after that terrible Tuesday at Morris and Associates, I got a call from Detective Ramirez with the SPD Fraud Division. Miss Chen, we've completed our investigation. I want you to know that the evidence is over. We have documentation of 17 separate instances of identity theft with a total financial impact of $473,000. We're moving forward with charges identity theft in the first degree, forgery, and wire fraud. My mouth was dry. What does that mean? Means your mother is being formally charged. She'll be arrested within the next week. Given the amount and the systematic nature of the fraud, the prosecutor is recommending a sentence of 4 to 6 years. For 6 years. My mother in prison for 4 to 6 years. I waited for the guilt to come, for the horror, the regret, the urge to take it all back. It didn't come. Instead, I felt relief, like I'd been holding my breath for 3 months and could finally exhale. Thank you, I managed to say. I know this isn't easy, Detective Ramirez said. His voice was kind, for what it's worth. You did the right thing. People like your mother, they don't stop unless they're forced to stop. You probably saved the next person. She would have done this too. After we hung up, I sat on my ratty second-hand couch in my new apartment, watching the evening light turn the canal orange, and I cried. Not from sadness, from something else. Something that felt like grief, but also like freedom. That night I got 3 voicemails from blocked numbers. I didn't listen to them. I was done listening. The arraignment was on a Thursday in June. I didn't attend. Patricia called me afterward. She pleaded not guilty. Her lawyer is claiming financial desperation and emotional distress. They're trying to paint her as a struggling single mother who made poor choices out of love for her family. I almost laughed. Love. The trial is set for October. The prosecutor wants you to testify. You don't have to have enough documentation without your testimony. But it would be powerful if you did. I'll think about it, I said. But I already knew my answer. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. Something strange happened in the months after I cut contact. I started to remember things. Not new things. Old things, things I'd buried or reframed or explained away, because that's what you do when you're raised by someone who teaches you that your reality isn't real. I remembered being 12 and finding out she'd stolen money from my savings account, the one my grandmother had set up for my college fund. I borrowed it, she'd said. I'll pay it back. She never did. The account was empty by the time I was 14. I remembered being 16 and discovering she'd opened a cell-phone plan in my name. When the bills didn't get paid and the account went to collections, she'd shrugged. You're young? Bad credit won't matter for years. By the time it does, it'll be off your record. I remembered being 20 and having her ask for my social security number for health insurance purposes. I remembered how normal it felt to give it to her, how ungrateful I felt for that momentary hesitation. The pattern had always been there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. In the support group, Jennifer called this coming out of the FOG fear. Obligation guilt. It's like living in a fog your whole life, she explained. You can't see clearly. Everything is distorted. And then one day, you step out of it and realize how lost you've been. I was out of the fog now. The view was devastating and clarifying in equal measure. The temp agency found me a position at a small nonprofit. It wasn't finance, just administrative work. But the pay was decent, and they didn't run credit checks. My supervisor, Maria, was a woman in her 60s who'd run the homeless outreach program for 20 years. She had that particular brand of kindness that comes from seeing everything and being surprised by nothing. "You're overqualified for this job," she said during my second week. "I know. Want to talk about why you're here?" "Not really." She nodded. "Fair enough. Just know that when you're ready to move up, I'll write you one hell of a recommendation letter." I worked hard, showed up early, stayed late, organized their chaotic filing system, built them a database for tracking client and services. Slowly, carefully, I started rebuilding my professional reputation, one small accomplishment at a time. At night, I took online courses. I couldn't afford to go back to school, but I could learn accounting, finance, business law. I devoured information like I was starving for it, and maybe I was. For years, I'd been working toward a future that had been stolen. Now I was building a new one, different but mine. I also started therapy. Dr. Reeves was in her 40s with warm eyes and a direct manner I appreciated. No bullshit. No platitudes. In our first session, I laid out the whole story. "How do you feel about what you've done?" he asked. "Filing charges against your mother?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Sometimes I feel guilty. Sometimes I feel angry that I feel guilty. Mostly I just feel tired." "That makes sense. You're grieving." "She's not dead." "No, but the mother you thought you had, the mother you deserve to have, she never existed. You're grieving the loss of something you never actually had. That's one of the hardest kinds of grief there is." Over the following months, Dr. Reeves helped me untangle the knots of guilt and obligation and familial duty that had been tied around my throat for 28 years. She helped me understand that protecting myself wasn't cruelty, that I wasn't responsible for my mother's choices, that children don't owe their parents and limited chances to cause harm. "What about forgiveness?" I asked during one session. "Everyone says forgiveness is important. That holding on to anger just hurts me." Dr. Reeves leaned back in her chair. "Here's what I tell my clients about forgiveness. It's not a moral obligation. It's not something you owe anyone, especially not someone who harmed you and hasn't done the work to make amends. Forgiveness is a gift you can choose to give, if and when it serves your healing, not theirs, yours." "What if I never forgive her?" "Then you never forgive her, and that's okay. You can heal, build a beautiful life, and find peace without ever forgiving the person who tried to destroy you." It was the permission I didn't know I needed. 7 months after that terrible Tuesday, I got an email from a colleague at my old job, the one before Morrison Associates. Jessica had been one of the few people I'd kept in touch with, and she'd helped me with professional references when the temp agency needed them. The email subject line read, "Opportunity, are you interested? Sarah, I know you've been through hell this year, and I don't know all the details and you don't have to share, but I just heard about an opening at Catalyst Solutions. They're a financial consulting firm that works with nonprofits and small businesses. It's a mid-level analyst position. And here's the thing, the owner, Margaret Harrison, started the company after her own bankruptcy and financial recovery. She doesn't run credit checks because she thinks they're discriminatory and don't reflect actual competence. The salary is $72K, full benefits, and the culture is apparently amazing. I know Margaret through a mutual friend. If you're interested, I can make an introduction. Think about it. You deserve a real shot. Jessica, I read the email 3 times. Then I cried. Then I updated my resume and sent it to Jessica within an hour. The interview was 2 weeks later. Margaret Harrison was 50-something, black, with natural gray hair and the kind of direct gaze that saw through bullshit immediately. Her office was in a converted warehouse in Georgetown, full of sunlight and plants and none of the sterile corporate aesthetic I was used to. So, she said, leaning back in her chair after we'd exchanged pleasantries. Jessica says, you're excellent at your job, but you've had a complicated year. Want to tell me about it? I'd prepared for this question. Practiced answers that were vague enough to be professional, but honest enough to not feel like lying. But sitting there in Margaret's office, with her eyes that said, I've seen some shit too, I found myself telling the truth. Not all of it, but enough. My mother stole my identity and destroyed my credit. I filed charges. I'm rebuilding. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Then good for you. Good for me? For filing charges, for protecting yourself. Too many people let family bleed them dry because they're afraid of seeming cold. She pulled up something on her computer. I started this company after my ex-husband ran up $200,000 in debt in my name and then left the country. The bank said it was partly my fault for not monitoring our accounts closely enough. The court said I was on the hook for half of it, even though I could prove I didn't make the purchases. So I declared bankruptcy, rebuilt my credit over 7 years, and started a company that helps other people navigate financial disasters. She turned the monitor toward me. I've reviewed your work history. Your references are glowing. Your skills are exactly what we need. The question is, are you ready to do this kind of work? Because financial consulting for people in crisis, it's rewarding. But it's also heavy. You'll be working with people who are drowning, who've been betrayed, who are starting over from zero or from negative numbers. Now, can you handle that right now? I thought about the support group, about the nonprofit where I worked, about all the people I'd met who were rebuilding lives from rubble. Yes, I said, I can handle it. I think I might be good at it actually. Because I know what it feels like. Margaret smiled. You start Monday. The job at Catalyst Solutions changed everything. Not immediately. I wasn't magically healed or suddenly wealthy. But it gave me structure, purpose. A place where my experience, as painful as it was, actually meant something. I helped a woman in her 30s untangle the financial mess her ex had left her. I helped a guy my age develop a payment plan after his business partner embezzled their startup funds. I helped people who were drowning, and in helping them, I found I could breathe a little easier myself. The salary meant I could afford a better apartment. Not luxury, just a 1-bedroom in Greenwood with actual sunlight and a kitchen big enough to cook in. I bought a used car. Nothing fancy, just reliable. I started saving again, slowly rebuilding what had been taken. And I changed my name. Not legally, not yet, but at work. In my personal life, with new friends I was making, I started going by my middle name, Michelle. Sarah Chen was the girl whose mother destroyed her life. Michelle was the woman who was building a new one. The trial was set for late October. As it approached, the voicemail started up again from numbers I didn't recognize, people my family had recruited to plead their case. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Sir, I know you're hurting, but sending your mom to prison? That's too far. She made a mistake, but she's still your mother. Think about what this will do to the family. A woman who identified herself as my mother's therapist, which ethical boundary much? Your mother is deeply remorseful and working through her issues. Perhaps you could consider a restorative justice approach rather than punitive measures. My brother Derek, slurring drunk, you're a cold-hearted bitch. You know that? Mom sacrificed everything for us, and this is how you repay her? I hope you rot in hell. I saved them all. Not to listen to, I never listened to them twice, but as evidence, as reminders, as proof that I wasn't crazy, that the fog I'd escaped was real, that these people would rather I'd drown than hold anyone accountable. Patricia called 6 weeks before the trial. The prosecution has a strong case. Your mother's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal, reduced charges in exchange for guilty plea, probably looking at 2 to 3 years with possibility of parole instead of 4 to 6. What do they want from me? Nothing. This isn't dependent on you. But they want to know. Will you testify if it goes to trial? I watched the rain outside my apartment window. October in Seattle, dry and heavy. I thought about that Tuesday morning, that suit from Nordstrom Rack, that moment when my entire future collapsed. I thought about every ramen dinner, every temp job, every time I'd worked myself to exhaustion while my mother was shopping at Neiman Marcus on my stolen credit. Yes, I said. I'll testify. And it won't be easy. Her lawyer will try to make you look vindictive. Colt? They'll play the "how could you do this to your own mother" card hard. Let them, I said. I'm not afraid anymore. And I wasn't. That was the thing I'd discovered in the past 10 months. Fear had kept me small for so long. Fear of being ungrateful. Fear of being dramatic. Fear of being the bad daughter. But once you lose everything, there's nothing left to be afraid of. You're already at the bottom. The only direction left is up. 2 weeks before the trial, I got a letter forwarded from my old P.O. box. The return address was the King County Jail. My mother had written me. I stared at the envelope for a full 10 minutes before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread. But a bigger part needed to know what she had to say, what final manipulation she'd attempt. The letter was 3 pages. Handwritten on lined paper. Dear Sarah, I hope this letter finds you well. I've had a lot of time to think in here, and I want you to know that I understand why you're angry. I made mistakes, I can see that now. Money problems have always been my weakness, and I should have been stronger. I could already feel the rage building. Mistakes, weakness, no acknowledgement of theft, of betrayal, of systematically destroying my life. But Sarah, you have to understand, I did it all for the family. The house was going into foreclosure. Derek needed help with his medical school loans. I was drowning, and I thought if I could just get us through this rough patch, I'd be able to pay everything back before you noticed. I never meant to hurt you. Now you're sending me to prison. Your own mother. Do you know what that will do to our family? To your brother? He's already struggling. And now he has to deal with the shame of having a mother in prison and a sister who put her there. There it was, the guilt, the blame shifting. The look what you made me do. I'm begging you, sir, please. Drop the charges, or at least talk to the prosecutor about reducing them. I'll go to therapy. I'll get financial counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. But please don't do this. You're destroying our family. I'm still your mother. I still love you. Doesn't that mean anything? Please call me. Please write back. Please give me a chance to make this right. Love. Mom, I read the letter twice. Then I took a lighter from my kitchen drawer and burned it in the sink. Watching the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. He was right about one thing. I was destroying the family. The family that had enabled her, protected her, taught me that being stolen from was less shameful than holding her accountable. That family deserved to be destroyed. I washed the ashes down the drain and didn't look back. 1 week before the trial, Patricia called with news. She took the plea deal. 2.5 years. Eligible for parole after 18 months. Restitution order of $473,000 to be paid through garnished wages and assets easier once she's released. I sank onto my couch. So no trial? No trial. It's over. Sarah, well, the criminal case is over. You'll still need to work with the creditors on getting the fraudulent debts fully removed from your credit report. But with the conviction, that should be straightforward. Over. After 11 months of fighting, it was over. There's one more thing, Patricia said carefully. Your mother wants to know if you'll visit her before she's transferred to the state facility. The answer came instantly, reflexively. No? You're sure? Some people find closure. I don't need closure from her. I found it on my own. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Good, that's healthy actually. Closure isn't something other people give you. It's something you give yourself. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment for a long time, processing. I'd spent 11 months bracing for war, and now, peace? Not the kind of peace where everything is resolved and everyone hugs and learns lessons, but the kind where the threat is neutralized. Where the person who hurt you can't reach you anymore. That night, I went to the support group and shared my news. Everyone clapped. Jennifer hugged me. You did it, she whispered. You fucking did it. I did, I said. And for the first time in 11 months, I smiled. Really smiled, not the tight professional smile I perfected, but a genuine expression of something that felt like joy. My credit score, once 487, was now 623rd, still not great, but climbing. The fraudulent accounts were being removed one by one as I provided the conviction documentation to each creditor. It was slow, bureaucratic work, but it was working. I was 29 now, a year older than when this started, a lifetime wiser. I had a job I was good at, had apartments that I loved. I used Honda that ran well, a savings account that was growing, slowly but steadily. I knew a name that felt like mine, a life that was small but genuine. I had everything I needed and nothing I didn't. But I wasn't done yet. There was still one more move to make. One final piece of the puzzle that would complete my transformation from victim to survivor to something else entirely. I just had to wait for the right moment. And in January, 3 months into my mother's sentence, that moment arrived. The Christmas card arrived at my office in mid-January. It had been forwarded 3 times. From my old P.O. box to my old apartment to address. The envelope was cream-colored, expensive. My brother Derek's handwriting on the front. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. Inside was a photoed Eric, his fiancée Emma, and my mother. Except my mother wasn't in prison or inj. She was in a restaurant. Champagne glass raised, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. I flipped it over, Derek's handwriting again. Mom's early release party. Thanks to good behavior and overcrowding, she's home after only 4 months. New beginnings for 2024. 4 months. She'd served 4 months of a 30-month sentence. My hands started shaking. I called Patricia immediately. How is this possible? She sighed. Overcrowding. Nonviolent offenders are being released early. It's been all over the news. Prison Reform Initiative. I should have warned you this might happen. 4 months. Patricia, she destroyed my life and served FOURMONTHS. I know, I'm sorry. But the conviction still stands. The restitution order still stands. She still has to pay you back. With what money? I was pacing now, my voice rising. Maria glanced through her office window, concerned. She doesn't work. She's never worked. That restitution order is worthless. We can pursue asset seizure. She doesn't have assets. She spent everything. That was the whole point. I forced myself to breathe. Sorry, I'm not angry at you. You have every right to be angry at the situation, at her, at a justice system that failed you. But Sarah A. Michelle, listen to me. She may be out of prison, but she's still convicted felon. She can't get credit. Can't pass background checks. Her life isn't going back to normal. After we hung up, I stared at that Christmas card for a long time. My mother smiling, celebrating, probably telling everyone who'd listen about how she'd been victimized by the system, by her ungrateful daughter, by circumstances beyond her control. 4 months. That night, I did something I'd sworn I wouldn't do. I created a fake Facebook account and looked up my family. Derek's page was public. Photos from the release party at what looked like a mid-range steakhouse. Comments from relatives. So glad to have Linda back. We missed you. Family should always forgive each other. My mother had commented on several. Thank you all for standing by me during this difficult time. Some people may abandon family, but I'm blessed to be surrounded by love. I felt physically sick. Then I thought Eric's post from 2 days later, exciting news. Mom's moving in with us while she gets back on her feet. Emma's been such a saint about opening our home. Family first. They were going to take care of her, enable her, probably give her access to their finances, their credit, their lives. And in a few years, Derek would be sitting in a lawyer's office, telling the same story I told, wondering how he'd been so blind. Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd just accept it, the way he'd accepted everything else. The way I almost had. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark of my apartment thinking. Dr. Reeves noticed something was different in our next session. You're angry again, she observed. Different from before. This air's colder now, or she got out early for months. She's living with my brother now. Dr. Reeves nodded slowly. How does that make you feel? Like the justice system is a joke. Like nothing I did mattered. Like she won. Did she? I looked up sharply. She's free. Living in comfort, probably planning her an ex-cam. I'm still rebuilding credit, still dealing with the aftermath. How is that not winning? She's a convicted felon who will struggle to find employment, can't access credit, and lost her house. Dr. Reeves said calmly, she's dependent on her son's charity and living under constant supervision, which, knowing narcissists, is probably its own special hell for her. You, meanwhile, have a career independence and a life she can't touch. Who's really winning? I wanted to believe her, but that Christmas card, that smug smile, the comments about some people abandoning family. I want her to know what she did to me, I said quietly. I want her to feel it, really feel it. Revenge? Justice. Real justice, not the fake kind where she spends for months in minimum security and comes out acting like the victim. Dr. Reeves was quiet for a moment. What would that look like? Real justice? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I'd find one. 3 months later, I got an alert on my phone. I'd set up Google Alerts for my mother's name not because I was obsessed, but because I needed to know if she was up to something. The alert was from a local lifestyle blog. Local entrepreneur Chen launches new consulting business, second chances, financial coaching. I clicked through, my stomach sinking. There was my mother, professionally photographed in a blazer I didn't recognize, standing in front of a backdrop that said second chances in elegant script. The article gushed about her inspiring story of redemption. After facing financial difficulties and legal challenges, Linda Chen has emerged stronger than ever. Her new business, Second Chances Financial Coaching, helps people navigate debt, rebuild credit, and recover from financial setbacks. I've been where my clients are, Chen says warmly. I've made mistakes and learned from them. Now I want to help others avoid the pitfalls I fell into. The business operates primarily through online consultations, making it accessible to clients nationwide. Chen specializes in working with people who have strained family relationships or feel judged by traditional financial institutions. I read it 3 times, feeling rage build with each pass. She was using her experience, stealing from me, destroying my credit, going to prison as a marketing tool. She was positioning herself as an expert, a survivor, someone who'd overcome adversity, and people were buying it. The comments section was full of supportive messages. So brave to turn your struggles into helping others. We all make mistakes. Good for you for owning it and moving forward. This is what redemption looks like. Not one comment mentioned that her mistakes were actually crimes, that she'd stole a nearly $500,000 from her own daughter, that she'd served for months of a 2.5-year sentence. I dug deeper. She had a website, a Facebook page with 2,000 followers, a LinkedIn profile that described her as a financial wellness coach specializing in credit recovery and family financial healing, and bookings. She had actual clients paying her for advice. I called Patricia. Is this legal? Unfortunately, yes. Financial coaching isn't a regulated industry. She's not claiming to be a CPA or licensed financial advisor. As long as she's not committing new fraud, she can call herself a coach and charge for it. She's scamming people. Maybe, or maybe she's genuinely helping them. People with criminal records do sometimes reform, but I understand why this feels like a slap in the face. After we hung up, I stared at my mother's website. Her smiling face, her tagline. Everyone deserves a second chance. Let me help you take yours. That's when the idea started forming. I spent 2 weeks researching, not just my mother's new business, but the entire financial coaching industry, the lack of regulation, the abundance of scams, the vulnerable people who got exploited by coaches promising miracles. Then I started documenting. I created a detailed timeline of my mother's crimes, not emotional, purely factual. Dates, account numbers, dollar amounts. I gathered copies of the court documents, the plea agreement, the restitution order. I compiled screenshots of her marketing materials, her website, her social media presence, and I started making calls. First, to the Better Business Bureau. I'd like to file a complaint about a business. Then to the Washington State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. I have concerns about a potentially predatory business practice. Then to several consumer advocacy blogs and podcasts. I have a story about a convicted identity thief running a financial coaching business. I didn't lie. I didn't exaggerate. I simply presented facts. Linda Chen, convicted of identity theft and fraud, served for months of a 30-month sentence. Now coaching vulnerable people on financial recovery while still owing $473,000 in court-ordered restitution. The response was immediate. A consumer protection podcast called Scam Goddess reached out for an interview. A local investigative journalist started digging. The BBB opened an investigation. Her website hosting company received multiple complaints. But I wasn't done. I called my old support group friend, Jennifer. She worked in marketing and had helped several small businesses' social media presence. I need help with something, I said, something that might be morally gray. She met me for coffee. I explained everything. The early release, the new business, my plan. You want to destroy her business? Jennifer said. It wasn't a question. I want to warn people. If that destroys her business, well, maybe that's just natural consequences. Jennifer was quiet for a moment, stirring her latte. My mother stole $80,000 from me and never faced charges. I watched her continue to live her life, Play the victim, tell everyone I was the problem. She looked up, eyes hard. If I'd had the evidence you have, I would have buried her. So yes, I'll help you. Over the next month, we orchestrated what Jennifer called a truth campaign. We created a website, Second Chance or Second Scam.com, clean, professional, with no personal attacks, just documentation, court records, screenshots of her marketing materials side by side with details of her conviction, testimonials from people she'd scammed. I wasn't the only one. It turned out several people came forward with stories of loans they'd given her that weren't ever repaid. We created social media accounts that posted factual information about her case, always with sources, always with documentation. We filed complaints with every relevant oversight body. We contacted reporters and bloggers in the consumer protection space. We made sure that anyone Googling a Chen financial coach found the truth before they found her website. It took 6 weeks. That's how long it took for her business to collapse. The podcast episode went viral. 1.2 million downloads in the first week. The local news picked up the story. Her website was taken down by the hosting company for terms of service violations. Her Facebook page was flooded with comments from people demanding refunds. Former clients started posting their own experiences. And through it all, I stayed anonymous. The podcast used my story but not my name. The website was registered through a privacy service. Nobody knew it was me until Derek figured it out. He showed up at my office on a Tuesday afternoon in May. I saw him through the glass door, older, heavier, with the same self-righteous anger in his eyes that I remembered from childhood. Maria intercepted him. "Sir, you can't just. I'm her brother. I need to talk to her." I stood up from my desk. "It's okay. Maria, we can talk outside." We went to a coffee shop across the street. Derek ordered nothing. Just sat across from me with his arms crossed, radiating fury. "So you're Michelle now?" he said. "That's coward shit, Sarah. It's my middle name, and you showed up at my workplace. What do you want?" "I want you to stop this campaign against Mom. We know it's you." "Who else would it be?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Cheat, that website, those podcast interviews, the reporters, it's all you. You couldn't be satisfied with sending her to prison. You had to destroy any chance she had of rebuilding her life." I sipped my coffee, letting him seethe. Then, "Does she pay you back?" "What?" "The medical school loans Mom supposedly helped you with. Did she pay those with her own money? Or with credit cards she opened in my name?" Derek's face went red. "That's different." "How much?" "Derek, how much of my stolen money went to your medical school loans?" "She was helping family. She stole $500,000 from me." $500,000? And you're angry that I'm warning people not to hire a convicted felon as their financial coach? That's what you're upset about? He's our mother. She's a criminal who committed identity theft, destroyed my credit, cost me a job, and then got out of prison early to start a business scamming vulnerable people. And you're enabling her. Again. Derek leaned forward, voice slow. "You've changed. You used to be sweet. Now you're just cold, mean." "This isn't you." "You're right," I said. "The old me would have let her get away with it, would have protected her feelings while she destroyed my life. That version of me is dead. Mom killed her when she stole my identity. If you don't stop this." "You'll what?" I met his eyes. "Call the police." "I haven't done anything illegal." "Sue me with what money?" "Tell me what you're going to do." "Derek, because I'm genuinely curious." He stood up, chair scraping. "You're going to regret this." "The only thing I regret is not cutting contact sooner." He left. I finished my coffee. Hands steady, heart rate normal. No guilt, No second guessing. Just clarity. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from my mother's lawyer. It threatened legal action for defamation and harassment. Patricia laughed when I showed it to her. It's a scare tactic. Everything you've published is documented truth. They have no case. Send this to me, I'll respond. The lawyer never contacted us again. In June, 1 year after my mother's early release, I got a Facebook message from Emma Derek's fiancé. Sarah or Michelle. I guess I'm sorry to contact you out of the blue. Derek doesn't know I'm reaching out. I need to talk to someone who will understand. Your mom opened two credit cards in Derek's name. We just found out. She said she needed them for business expenses and would pay them back, but they're maxed out. Almost $30,000 th. Derek wants to handle it as a family, but I'm terrified. We're supposed to get married in September. I can't start a marriage with this hanging over us. I know you don't owe me anything, but... What did you do? How did you protect yourself? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to say I told you so. Wanted to let them drown the way they let me drown, the way they'd enabled her and vilified me. But Emma wasn't Derek. She wasn't my mother. She was just someone about to make the same mistake I almost made, protecting a predator because of fear and obligation, and the toxic belief that family means accepting abuse. I wrote back, Emma, file a police report immediately. Tonight. Don't tell Eric first. They'll try to stop you. Don't tell your mom. Just go to the police. Tell them what happened. And file a fraud report. Then contact the credit card companies with the police report number. Derek will be angry. Your mother-in-law will be furious. They will make you feel like you're destroying the family. That's how they keep you trapped. But you have a choice. You can protect her feelings. Or you can protect your future. You can't do both. If you need help, my lawyer's information is below. She's expensive, but she's good. And if Derek tries to stop you, you need to ask yourself, does he love you more than he fears her? Cheers, yourself, Emma. It's not selfish. It's survival. Michelle, she never responded. But 2 weeks later, I got a Google alert: Derek Chen and Linda Chen arrested for credit card fraud. Apparently, when Emma filed charges, the investigation uncovered a broader pattern. My mother had done this before, multiple times, to multiple people. Derek made bail. My mother didn't. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no guilt. Just the quiet acknowledgement that some people never learn, and that not being one of them was its own reward.